Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and this is going to be a recent reads of 6 graphic novels that I have just read. So on Libby, you can scroll through a particular library's collection, and if you have other library cards, it will also show the other color scheme for the library card if that library has a shorter wait list for a certain book. And so I was scrolling through the SFF collection of graphic novels on Queer Liberation Library, and whenever I came to one where it said it was immediately available from my local library, I borrowed it. And so this way I found a lot of queer graphic novels that I didn't actually know that my other library had, because they don't have a specific section that lists all their queer graphic novels. Also, you see that my fall decor has come in. I've changed out my pumpkins and my spider webs. And so we've entered the September-October time when I dress up in sort of costumes for my videos. Today I am a pretty pink princess. So I really enjoyed all of these, but I'm going to start with least favorite to most favorite. But I would say that these are all 4 stars and above. So the first one is Basil and Oregano. I have seen people talking about this one for quite a while, but have never gotten around to reading it. This is about 2 girls who are going to a magic school, a very elite magic school that costs a lot of money. One of them is a scholarship girl, and one is there because she has a rich parent. One is named Basil, and the other has the last name of Oregano, and they go together oh so well. It is about their friendship and their joy for cooking, because it is a culinary magic school, and it is also about the strain put on them of both trying to get top student of each quarter. So Basil needs to get top student 2 out of 4 of the quarters in order to maintain her scholarship, and Oregano is being pressured to get top student by her high-achieving mother. We also have a school bully to deal with. Overall, it's a fun romp, and if you are looking this time of year for witchy books, I would put this on the list. In fact, I'm going to put this on the list in a couple videos time when I make a witchy book recommendations video. I made one of these 3 years ago, and so I've read a lot of witchy books since then, so I'm going to compile all of those into recommendations video, and this book will be on it, as will a few of the other ones I'm about to talk about. So that one was 4 stars. Then we have Young Hag and the Witch's Quest. This one seems like it'll be very witchy, and it is if you find Camelot to be witchy, which it kind of is, and that it is one variety of pagan. It's just not my particular flavor of witches. I associate Camelot with a separate sort of area that's more like wizards and knights, which I consider separate from witches, although I think there are a fair few witches in Camelot stories. But there's also a lot of the Fae in Camelot stories, and I kind of put them in a separate box from witches in my mind. So that's why it wasn't as witchy as I wanted. But if you like all of those things, then you will probably like this book more than I did, although I did like this book a lot still. It was still a 4 star. The story starts when Young Hag gets her new name of Young Hag in a ceremony with her mother and her grandmother, and so they make a little coven of 3, and it is a lot about stories within the story. So at various times, from various perspectives, we hear the story of Camelot, Morgan Le Fay, Arthur, Lancelot, Guinevere, and so on, and sometimes the story is being told right, and sometimes it's being told from a somewhat prejudiced point of view. And so there's a little bit of parsing those stories, but it's a lot of listening to stories and the value of learning from other people's stories, which I also really like because that's my special interest. So I like this in a lot of ways. It was just unexpected to me because I didn't know it was a Camelot story going into it, because I didn't know much about any of these books before going into them. The art style is a lot more rough than a lot of graphic novels that I'm used to reading, but it was very enjoyable, and I think kind of lent itself to the Middle Ages sort of feel of the story. Then we have A Song for You and I. This is by Kay O'Neill, the same person who wrote the Tea Dragon Society and those sort of, that series. And this is a very quiet and contemplative graphic novel. I noticed that a lot of the story is told without words. There are a lot of panels with and whole pages and series of pages without any dialogue at all or any exposition. And I really enjoyed that. It's like watching a montage in a movie where you learn a lot about the characters by just seeing them do things rather than hearing them speak. And that was really nice. This is about a ranger and a shepherd. The shepherd is also a musician and feels very self-conscious about playing in front of most people, but not in front of our ranger, or ranger in training, I should say. The ranger ends up being assigned to help out the musician's family because of a storm that has swept through and made things unsafe in the area. And they spent a lot of time traveling together through those panels of just images, and it's very nice to look at. 4.5 stars. Attana and the Firebird is about a mermaid who has been exiled from the mermaid kingdom and is living alone on an island when she meets a firebird who has descended from the sky to spend some time on Earth. They go off together seeking adventure and run into some trouble and are rescued by a mysterious queen and meet a third friend who is a witch training to work for the queen's guard. I really enjoyed the story and the characters and would highly recommend it. 4.5 stars. Then we have two that it's more difficult to pick a favorite between, so I'm just going to tell you about the one that didn't make me cry first and then the one that did make me cry. So Mamo by Sass Milledge. This one is exactly what I wanted from a witchy book. It is about someone who has a sick mother who seems to have a magical sickness, and she goes to find the village witch, who has not been around the village for very long, to try to seek help. Our village witch reluctantly agrees and finds out that she is more connected to the problem that she thinks, because her grandmother, the previous village witch, has been scattered around the village as bones, and each bone is causing havoc, and our young witch feels responsible for tending to her grandmother's improperly buried remains. While they go around looking for bones to help save the village, they also find other problems caused by the villagers not having a proper town witch and solve those as well. It's a very fun romp. I really like the illustration style, and it's also fairly contemplative and quiet and very much fall, autumn vibes that I really enjoyed. And this one is sapphic as well. 5 stars. Then the one that made me cry, Lunar Boy. This one, unlike the rest that are fantasy, is a sci-fi. It is about a boy who is found on a moon and is adopted by a woman who is a astronaut and works on a community ship. Everyone seems to have abandoned old Earth and is either living on community ships or new Earth. And at first no one knows that our main character is a boy, so he has to tell his mother and change his name. And several years after that, there is the big change he has to go through of moving to new Earth from his community ship with his mother, because she is getting married to someone who lives on new Earth and who already has 2 kids. This goes a bit rough because one of the other kids is still very much traumatized by his mother's death, and there's also a language barrier because everyone on New Earth speaks a language that our main character does not speak at first, and so he has to learn that language. But through learning language, he actually gets to spend time with a trans woman who makes him feel more at home, and he talks a little bit about being trans with her and finds a queer community center. And some stuff about all of that ended up making me cry, and I really enjoyed it. It was just so good. Had all the good feelings. And it's also about grief and change and sometimes needing time away from people or just not talking to people about the bad thing or the difficult thing that you're going through, and how good and useful and right it is sometimes to just give people space, even though it feels like what you should be doing is giving them community and showing love through proximity. Sometimes the right thing is actually to show them love through giving them space. So that was a really interesting thing to look at that I haven't seen looked at much before. I believe all of these are also middle grade or YA. I would say Mamo and Basil and Oregano are probably YA, whereas the others, by the age of the protagonist, I would say more middle grade. So yeah, Lunar Boy got 5 stars as well, and I just had a really great time reading all these graphic novels. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to leave an emoji, how about a crown or something pink? And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!